Doctor. Welcome to the end of your existence.
A dozen of the world's leading seismologists have gone missing. 15 of the world's most valuable paintings have disappeared.
What's a landing? 9.9!
That's it! Can I let you in on a little secret?
A direct incursion on Earth is imminent.
Has it never occurred to you that it could be a trap?
This is the day you are erased forever. Bit of a conversation stopper.
It's incredibly dangerous.
It was a really bad idea.
Anything could happen.
I don't want it to end.
Yes!
Hello, good evening or good morning, depending on your time zones. Hello, welcome to the Discorded Whovian podcast. Hello, we are doing our very first episode tonight, and it's a very exciting one. As I say, exciting. First of all, we're in the 60th year of Doctor Who, so we're picking up where things last left off. So you might have remembered a few months ago, last October, it was the regeneration story of a certain doctor called Jodie Whittaker. And then she had regenerated just some guy called David Tennant. So tonight, on our very first episode of the Discorded Whovians, we are going to do a retrospective review. We're going to be introducing the members. We're basically going to be saying what we liked and we didn't like. And potentially, I'll look ahead at the 60th anniversary. So, kicking things off tonight, let's introduce one of our first Discorded Whovian members. And let's start with a new member to our group. We'll start with Raven this evening, the lovely Raven.
Oh no, I felt bad that you were going to pick me then. Yeah, hi.
Yes, hello.
Hello, sorry.
Yes, welcome to the Discorded Whovian podcast. Is this your first time doing podcasting?
Yeah.
Yes, so while we've got you here, Raven, before we start bringing in the other members, would you like to say quickly about how you first started into the world of the Doctor?
So I was talking to some other people about this before, but I had like a very, very weird initial first episode in that I caught the last 5 minutes of Army of Ghosts as my first ever Doctor Who experience. So I went into like Doomsday and like Rose leaving and everything with zero context. And I was trying to say, because in Doomsday, a decent amount of that story, the Sidemen are like teaming up with like Jake and everyone from the parallel universe. I went like little 10-year-old me, didn't realize that the Sidemen were villains the first time that I watched that story. So yeah, that was my first Doctor Who experience.
Oh, excellent. Starting like in series 2, the Rose series.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll come back to you in a bit because we're going to be introducing our next member for this evening. It's another doctor in the house. It's the one and only. It's Dr. Joy is here for this evening.
Hey, Matt.
Hello, Joy. Hello, how are you this fine evening? Like on the Discorded Whovian podcast.
It's still just mid-afternoon where I am, but yes.
Yes, of course, time zones and all. You always get a bit lost down the time track, don't you? Yes, you could end up back as William Hartnell. You could end up as Jodie Whittaker somehow.
Yeah, well, enjoying being the resident middle-aged American for the show, for the podcast.
Is this your first podcast?
As a series, yes. I think I've recorded for like at least one before, but I actually don't know if it ever aired. So, roughly, essentially.
Well, you're in great company this evening. So, which brings us on to our next person this evening. It's the Shetland Whovian, Aidan.
Oh, hello.
Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome, Shetland. I mean, Aidan.
Yes, although it's good to be here.
I didn't know you were cosplaying as the Joker this evening.
No, I don't think I am.
It's the giggles.
No,
It's the giggles giving it away.
yeah, it's just the giggles. It's a very contagious thing.
Yes. So we're going to rapid fire into our next guest right now. It's Connor. Connor, come on down.
Hi,
Yes, welcome this evening. Is this one of your first ones of doing these, Connor?
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, well, you're in good company this evening. You got the seasoned veterans, you've got the new people. You've basically, it's all mixed. So hopefully you'll enjoy, or else otherwise I'm getting fired again from this project. Which brings us to our next guest. He's also a newbie in the house. Let's welcome Andy to the Discorded Whovian podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Next up on the Discorded Whovian podcast, it's a brand new addition as well. It's Matteo in the building. Bring out Matteo.
Oh my god, there's a dog here now. What's up?
Welcome, Matteo, to the podcasting Discordian. Let me try that again. Welcome to the Discorded Whovian podcast. So
Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I think Scooby went on the brain for a minute. I apologize for all the Velma stands out there. Yes. Next up, Matteo, just before we go into our next resident guest, are you looking forward to being part of this evening?
Oh, very much, yes. I'm excited.
Oh, fantastic. Bring on to our next guest. What's he called? Oh, yes, it's the evil Dalek for some reason. Some kind of evil Dalek?
Hi, I'm the evil Dalek. I'm going to be that one grumpy guy in the entire group.
Ah, you're a bit depressing, aren't you? Davros says cheer up.
No.
Well, your father says hello then, because Papa Davros.
Yay.
Well, this is very anticlimactic with you. We'll get back to you later. But finally, we're going to introduce our resident in-house other co-host for this evening. It's Keegan in the building.
Hello.
Also anticlimactic. Speak up, Keegan.
Huh? Hello.
There we go. Welcome to the podcasting of the Discorded Whovians. Of course. Well, it's been a long time coming. This has been a long time planned, and it's been both disastrous and resultful at the same time.
Yes, very. We got there in the end.
So what have we gathered for this evening? Well, as people have heard earlier, we're gathering for a little episode this evening called Power of the Doctor. Ooh. Yes. So first of all, let's get down to business. So we're going to go around everyone this evening and interview people here about what you've actually liked about the episode. So we'll go round the houses. So on my screen, we'll start with Keegan about what did he actually like for Power of the Doctor.
I enjoyed that a lot of the characters got to do things this episode. I feel like the companions got to grow. The storytelling was great. The villains were great. And I felt like the episode was a lot longer than most of our episodes, which gave it more time for better writing, character development, and a lot more growth.
At least, Keegan, at least you've started off onto a good start here. So before we move on to Raven, who's next on my screen, we'll go for me because I'm the next person on this screen. So what did I like about Power of the Doctor? I'd say it was probably my favourite episode out of the Chibnall era, because as a long-time resident fan of like the past series, seeing like the familiar faces, I think I got emotional like watching the story, because I just thought that if Chibnall was given longer in the scripts, he was given more to play with. This felt like the vision that he'd always had for like the Doctor. It's just such a shame like a lot of stuff was like balled out and rushed out fast, like some of the villains from his era. That Power had some of the great costumes, great music. I think in terms of like character development, I'd say I understand people's concerns sometimes about 13 and Yaz, but if you had Phlox all the way to Power of the Doctor from the get-go, this would have been the strongest for them because it was like their finest hour. So
I agree.
yeah, I loved Power of the Doctor, and to me, it will always be one of my favorite 60th anniversary. I mean, centenary specials. I mean, whoops. Oh, sorry, I kind of slipped into the time track there. But don't worry. So that's enough for me for now. But our next guest to talk about Power of the Doctor, what they liked about the episode, is Raven.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I find it interesting that you said that it was your favorite of the Chibnall era. I think it's one of my favorites that Chibnall wrote out of his era. For me, I think it's that a lot of them just the one-off moments that I liked, just the very what the hell am I watching, but in the best, but in a positive way of like when the Doctor like regenerated into the Master. And I was just like, okay, this wouldn't happen if this was written by anyone else, but in in a good way. And I did really like Jodie's regeneration scene. I thought that like it wasn't overly long-winded and stuff in it, and it felt very true to her Doctor. And just there was just a bunch of really cool ideas, like the Guardians of the Edge and all that kind of stuff as well. Yeah, just a lot of just cool moments.
Oh, fantastic, Raven. You know, you echoed some of my sentiments with the story, but we'll pick back up that later as well. But next on our cue card to talk about Power of the Doctor is, what's his name? It's Connor!
Yeah, Power of the Doctor, I think it was quite fun, like episodes, like this, like, I mean, with the story and the trailer and stuff, obviously we no clue what was going to go on until the episode actually aired. And I think my favorite bit about it is the beginning sequence with the Cyber Masters on the space train. I think it's quite a nice, like, straight into action sequence. The music is great as well, which is funny for me because I've not been a particular huge fan of the music in this era, but the music in this episode is great throughout it all. But yeah, majority of it I enjoyed the episode, quite fun. Story sometimes it goes a bit, but like it's still fun.
I agree.
Yeah, it's like Madison once said, at first it was fun, then scary, then fun again, then spooky, but in the fun way.
Yeah, and also it's also great seeing Ace and Tegan in the episode as well, and then later we got like Mel and other characters coming back, like the cameo there. That's quite cool as well.
Oh, absolutely. Good old Bonnie Langford. Just somehow she got out of her predicament with Bliss. She just ran away to the universe with him and somehow she got back to Earth. But who knows? One day that'll get covered. Maybe Big Finish. Maybe Russell. Who knows? But yes, on to our next review of the person who might have liked the episode. Is it called Shetland? Do you go by, or are you universally known as Aiden?
Yes, I'm the Shetlander known as Aiden. But yeah, like I remember when I first watched it, like Power of the Doctor, because I found it like really like fun, like because it started like really action packed, like with the Doctor, Yaz, and Dan like going on to that train. Just getting my words a bit mixed up, but yeah, like as the episode went on, it was really great to see like Tegan and Ace, and let's not forget the Guardians of the Edge, like the first Doctor, 5th, 6th, 7th, and my personal favorite, 8th Doctors. Yeah, it's just so great to see them back. And I'm pretty sure, like, if I'm correct, like this was actually like the 8th Doctor's like first appearance in like a proper episode, like not like
yes, yeah, I know people tried to count out of the. I know people tried to count out of the Doctor, Aiden, but this, compare it to film and Big Finish, it was Paul's first walk into the TV side of the Doctor who was Power.
Yeah, it only took like 27 years.
Yeah, it took as long as I was alive that Paul finally appeared.
Yeah, but hey, at least he got there in the end.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yes,
and
which is fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ada. Sorry, it glitched.
Yeah.
1 second. I'm sorry. Sorry, can I go back 1 second, Ada? It just glitched for me.
That's all right.
You might.
Yeah, so I was also going to say about like Tegan's like conversation like with 5 and also like Ace's interaction with 7. Like, yeah, that part was like definitely really emotional. Like just thinking about it, like because that, like just hearing like 5 and Tegan like talking about like Adric, or rather just mentioning him, and Ace and 7 like talking about like how they fell out, like and Ace apologizing for that, and then the Doctor being like, "Oh, we're more than good. We're Ace." Like honestly, that was great stuff there. Yeah, and also like one more thing, like that I can think of off the top of my head, like just seeing like the whole like little group of companions like just meeting up, like
That was
Kate
great.
Kate Stewart,
It was really good.
like, yeah, Ace and Tegan, Yaz, Dan, and also like Mel, Joe, and Ian. Like, I remember when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, is that Ian? Like, oh my god, he's back after like how long's it been? Like, yeah, like nearly 58 years, if I'm correct. Assuming my maths is correct.
Oh yeah, he hasn't been on it since William Russell departed with Jacqueline back in. It was the Dalek one. The Chase.
Yeah, the
wasn't
Chase. Yeah.
Chase. Yeah. London, 1965.
It?
London, 1965.
Yeah.
Absolutely a wild party that was, Aiden, and honestly,
Yeah.
that's why I love. That's why we love Part of the Doctor, because it feels like that love letter to the past and the future.
Yeah.
Right. But speaking of a resident Doctor, Dr. Joy's in the house with her reviews and thoughts about the episode.
Yeah, what you just said was one of my favorite things about it, was that it felt like we got closure on people, but we also opened the door for seeing them, for their stories to continue. It seems like a lot of time on Doctor Who, at least in New Who, well, and Classic also, I think, you get people and they come and then they go, and then there's no indication that you'll ever see them again. And this brought so many of them back that it feels like, oh, we might see anyone again. This character's story might not be done, and that was really, really cool. Is that we could see this person again. I was in my watching with my little family here, who are not like intense fans. They enjoy it, but they're not making podcast level fandom. So they have not seen anything of Classic Who and don't know much, and I haven't seen all the eras, but I know who the people are. So when the companions are coming in, and then when we got the Guardians of the Edge, like you just mentioned, I was like trying to squeal silently. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Colin, it's Sylvester. I was so excited to see them, and it was so, and then getting their chances to talk with their companion and get closure on some of the relationships, and also the companions getting to continue their adventures was one of my favorite parts. And also that our present day companions aren't forgotten, and they're still continuing their lives and doing things and networking with the other ones. I thought the support group at the end was one of the coolest things, because like these people ought to talk to each other. Seeing Ian again was amazing for me, because the first Doctor is the era of Classic Who that I've gone back and watched, and I love Ian and Barbara, and you can see in Ian and Barbara how the Doctor becomes who the Doctor becomes, and then we hadn't seen them again at all. Of course, we can't see Jacqueline Hill, but we were able to see, it's like Ian, really, he's still alive. We can still see him, and so they've gotten him back, and it might be the last time we see him, but we've gotten to see him again, and so we know that he was, the character was alive and doing things, and seeing other companions, and potentially having adventures all this time. And that was one of my favorite things about it. Like you said, Matt, I think a second ago, it was a love letter to the past and the future.
And to be honest, Joy, when I saw Colin, I never thought he'd ever be on the show again. So to see him part of the Guardians of the Edge, that just meant an absolute lot. See, because we know about the roller coaster ride that he had during his era, and for him to be there standing as one of the Guardians with Jodie was just phenomenal watching it. But we will get back onto that stuff later. Next up, for his thoughts on the episode, it's Andy.
Right, so obviously plenty of people have covered a lot of the stuff I was going to mention, but for me, I'm a massive lover of 5 and 7 as Doctors and their times in the TARDIS in general. So for me, my heart broke when the first thing the 5th Doctor mentions is Adric. I apologise for spoiler alerts and everything, but they didn't need to name drop Adric because, you know, for obvious reasons, but the fact that they did, I'd like to think for those that have never watched the 5th Doctor era, there are now gonna be people going, okay, let's sit through the likes of Castrovalva, Earthshock, Time Flight. You know, let's watch it all. And there were some really good nods, and not just even to the 5th Doctor era. There's a throwback about Tegan's aunt who gets shrunk down in size in Logopolis, which is actually a 4th Doctor story. It's, again, I love those kind of references. There was even a reference to Survival by Ace saying, last time I saw you, you were half cat, which obviously happens for Anthony Ainley's master in Survival. And again, I love those kind of like references because they, to me, like, you know, are what I thrive for, you know. And not just that, but I'm like, yes, I know that reference. Yes, I'm aware of it. But ultimately, like the others have said, it was, to me, I almost find it was Chibnall's best episode, like flat out, throughout his era. It's just a shame it was his final episode, because if that is what he can do in a 90-minute episode, then I would have loved to have seen what he could have done with a 90-minute episode elsewhere or somehow. You know, if he'd been given, say, I don't know, 6 90-minute episodes for an entire season, I would have been happy with that personally. But I really don't know. It was good. It had its moments where I thought, okay, this is good. This is a bit bland in areas, but then there's no harm in a bit of blandness. There's no harm in slowing the tension down a little bit. The only thing I will say, and I say this critically, I don't know what was the point of Binder returning. I will confess, I did not see the point of him returning after what had been such a happy, good ending in Flux for him and Bell. But that's as far as I'm going with that. So I do apologise.
He existed purely because he had a gun. That's literally the only reason he was there.
Where was Bell,
We
though?
always taught ourselves guns are not a good thing. Doctor Who is
No,
a
probably giving birth.
Yaz had a gun. Just saying.
Yes, Belle was having her baby, and they were looking after the dog Carvanista.
Yes.
Carvanista should have stayed with Dan, let's be honest here. After all the fan art we've seen ever since. Need I say any more?
Connor loved that.
Wow. Thank you, Andy, for your thoughts on it. So we're going to our new member this evening, Matteo. So, Matteo, welcome to the Discorded Whovian podcast. So, what's your thoughts on this episode of For Power of the Doctor?
Well, a lot obviously has already been covered by everybody else, and towards the end, one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet, though, the regeneration was beautiful. It was probably one of, if not the best shot regeneration scene in the entire show. And I loved her speech at the end. The speech was lovely. The special effects, oh my god, they were amazing. Oh, hello. Anyways, the special effects were amazing. The way that Tennant just popped up there, straight into his 60th costume too, just caught, I think, everybody off guard. I didn't think anybody saw that coming. That was one of the big things I enjoyed about the special that hasn't been covered already.
That was the best regeneration scene,
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah, I love the visual of her on Durdle Door, just like
It was beautiful,
Yeah.
yeah.
I enjoyed a regeneration where we actually didn't know who she was going to regenerate into.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it was
It's 50-50.
Yeah, we really didn't know. It was so much speculation. I was like, this is cool to
Yeah.
actually be surprised by a regeneration.
Mm.
I know there's been a bit of uproar. Sorry, I hope you don't mind me just jumping in quickly. I know there's been a bit of uproar why people, sorry, spoiler alert, why Tennant didn't regenerate into Jodie's clothes. But ultimately, whilst I'm not personally fussed, you know, he could have changed into Jodie's clothes. I wouldn't have minded. Ultimately, I'm equally happy with the clothes he has regenerated into. I know there's been a bit of like outroar over it, and RTD has actually had to come out saying, look, you know, the reason why is because of this, and that. He explained it. I don't know that I can't remember the full quote and everything, but at the same time, I'm like, that is perhaps one of the best regenerations, and not just that, but like Joy just said, we didn't know if she was going to regenerate into Shooty or if she was going to regenerate into David Tennant. We did not know, and that in itself is quite a lovely thing because we had that uncertainty for the first time in, you know, when Capaldi regenerated, we knew it was Jodie Whittaker and no one else. This one, it was weird, and in fairness, we still don't even know, is Tennant going to regenerate back to Jodie, so then Jodie can then regenerate into Shooty? We don't know right now. It's weird, and ultimately, it's just part of the fascination of it all.
Well, just before we move on to the Evil Dalek, it's just on that note, there's that third option. Like, if you read the original script from BBC Writers' Room, it's the original ending for Power of the Doctor, where she was just going to cross her legs down to the sunset and regenerate. So we were about to have the show cancelled again if we didn't get Russell.
Yeah, I heard she was going to drown.
Wait, what?
No, that was one rumour.
There were enough rumors about
that'd be a very graphic ending. I'm just
Yeah, it was very dark.
Yeah,
Stanley. Let's let Stanley talk.
Yes,
Evil Dalek.
right. We'll come back to our points in a bit, but let's introduce tonight's what do you call it? An evil Dalek? Let's introduce the evil Dalek's thoughts on the episodes of Power of the Doctor.
Hi, I'm the Evil
Hello.
Dalek. My thoughts on the Power of the Doctor. It was an episode that existed. Bye bye. No, I kid. I'm not that depressing yet. My thoughts on the Power of the Doctor. If I could describe it in one phrase, I'd say it was the most sugar-filled Doctor Who story ever made. Where it feels like when you're watching it, you're high on sugar. And like, could the amount of excitement you see, especially in the second half of the story, where he's like, "Oh my God, there's Ace," and then, "Oh my God, there's the first Doctor, the fifth Doctor, the sixth Doctor, the seventh Doctor, the eighth Doctor," and all these. It's like it's the most fan service episode that has ever fan serviced. It's quite an interesting episode. It's an episode I feel a lot of confliction on, because when it comes down to like story, writing wise, the episode I don't think is very good. When it comes down to enjoyment wise, it is definitely the most enjoyable Chibnall episode in my opinion. It's so enjoyable to watch and to see all these things, and like, you know, Ace, Tegan, the Master. This is basically sugar for all Doctor Who fans. Everyone can have a bit, and everyone can absolutely get it all to their head and run around the room like a bunch of 2-year-olds. It's quite an amazing feat, if I must say so. Any problems I've had with the episode? I mean, as I said already, that when it comes down to the writing, some of the lapses of logic, it's a bit, you know, like the Master's plan. Why was he dressed up as Rasputin? And when, like, there's a moment where why did he let himself get captured only for a shard to come back and to release him? And then when he does that, he just says to himself, "This is such a good plan." I'm like, your plan is to dress up as Rasputin for no reason, get captured for no reason. and also like just some minor stuff like how Ashard is back, and because the Master cloned them. For what reason? Why would you clone a shard? And why the shard fine? You like in Timeless Child, like a shard blooming like, and the Master did not get along. The Master killed a shard in Timeless Children, and yet in this episode he's happily working for them. And there are a lot of stuff like I don't think the Daleks were particularly necessary. I feel like they were only put in so Ace could beat one of them up with a baseball bat.
That's fair.
Yeah, and like once again, it's another story where the Cybermen appear, but they're second fiddle to the Master, which has been done so much to death. I think I might legit cry out of pure sadness if I see that again in the next 15 years of the Master being in charge of the Cybermen. It's such a ridiculous thing that has been happening over the last few years. But yeah, it's and also the Yaz stuff at the end, how Yaz's ending is very like, okay, okay, we've had our emotional moment, go away, and that sort of thing. There are many, in my opinion, I'm probably the most negative Nancy here. I'm the one who's pointing out a lot of the flaws, and like, but I will say, when it aired and the amount of happiness it brought to people, that can't be undermined. The episode if you look at it critically and like take it to pieces, it's probably a mess. But when viewed as an experience, it's at least an enjoyable mess. So the episode has that, and it was a finale. It was a great finale. Was it the best? Or was it the great finale for Whittaker's era? Because not really, because a lot of the themes and points that have been built on the Whittaker era, like the Timeless Child, Phasmin, all this sort of stuff kind of just got forgotten, and like they decided to make an episode which everyone would enjoy. But hey, they made an episode which everyone enjoyed. And in the last few years, where the entire fandom has been cutting each other's throats left, right, and center, I think that's what everyone needed. Even Ian Levine was happy about the episode, saying he was so happy to be 7 and 8. If you've made Ian Levine happy, then hey, you've made everyone happy.
Especially since allegedly he was never going to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch Doctor Who ever again.
Never watching it ever again.
He was happy about
but yet had an opinion about every episode.
Yeah, it's honestly, yeah. I'm the most critical here. I will rip an episode to pieces and tear it up with my teeth, and be that depressing, annoying guy who craps on all of everybody's fun. But hey, people had fun with the episode. I had fun with the episode, and that's all that matters.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, especially like the Rasputin bit. It's fun, but like.
It's not necessary.
In terms of the Master Plan, was it necessary? Great. I liked it. I wouldn't want to get rid of it. It's just, I was like, well, the Master was like, Rasputin is very important to my plan.
Yeah, my plan in quotation marks. I think this is all just like the Master. Probably like all the Doctor Who fans who watched the episode probably got high on sugar and like, I know, I'm going to kill the Doctor by being Rasputin and then entering the body. And like, whoa, I'm gonna get the Cybermen and Daleks to team up for some strange reason and somehow being successful at that. That should never work.
Yeah, I think it's totally in character for the Master to make a plan that makes zero sense. It's absolutely bonkers, just to annoy the Doctor.
Like, I will say that's his whole the most insane incarnation that ever. I don't even John Sim has some sanity in there, but I don't think Sasha's got Sasha's Master. He's insane. He's completely insane. He's giddy. He gets all giddy, and yeah, that's what everyone likes about him. But yeah, it's certainly an episode. It's if you were to ask someone like a critical writer what they thought of the episode, they'd probably tear it to pieces and say it's an absolute like shite fest. But if you measure the episode and how much fun everyone had, it was a banging success, I will say. And what's more important, I mean, obviously it'd be better if both it was critically well written and like well received, but You go with what you get with, and especially with this area, you do need to go with what you get with.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now for the ASMR eating chicken.
Okay then. Right, now where did we get off to? Oh yes, so coming up to our next portion, we're going back around the houses, so we're off three for this one. So we are now about to discuss the lovely Sophie Aldred and Janet Fielding, aka Dorothy, Ace McShane, and Tegan Javanka. Yes. So what we're going to discuss on this part of the segment is about their return. And was anyone here happy to see them, or did you already know them? So I'll go first on this one. Yes, for years, I have known of Ace and Tegan because I'm an avid follower of Classic Who, as well as listening to them for Big Finish. So when they appeared at the end of the trailer for Legends of the Sea Devils, my emotions literally broke because as a person that has met them over the years, some people might know or not. I've met Janet about only now twice at conventions and Sophie a lot over the years, but to physically see Ace and Tegan, who had no interactions in Classic Who, never met before, paired together for the Doctor's final outing, I was taken aback, especially since Janet gave up acting. So for her to literally return to acting when she became a theatrical agent, she represented Sylvester McCoy and Aidan's favorite Dr. Paul McGann. She used to be the agent for them. So I was stunned, completely stunned. And the fact Sophie brought her original jacket for Power of the Doctor that they had from Classic Who, and then Janet got a completely new outfit as Tegan. I couldn't believe it. To see them standing with Jodie and their doctors, it took me away, especially that really sad moment. I know we covered it a while ago, about Five talking to her about Adric, but Classic Who really skimmed over Adric's death, and for Tegan to be emotional with Five talking, that felt like proper closure to Earthshock on television. So for that, I will congratulate Chibnall for that. He closed off an outstanding thread from Davison's era. And to see Sophie and Sylvester, it was just that mad double act. It's brilliant seeing the Umbrella Man back in live action. It's just, I was stunned. They were loved. It was just Chibnall had a huge love letter to surprise people with that, and that really paid off. Seeing them as the Guardians of the Edge was one thing, but seeing them standing in their costumes were another. And I just, my hat's off to seeing Ace and Tegan again. And they clearly are going to come back. I mean, there's no way they could have just done that after all this time for Sophie the most, and that'd be the last time we see her. So, on that note, I'm going to go to Keegan next about his thoughts about Ace and Tegan, about if he knew about them, or was this the first time you've seen them?
First time I've seen them. I've heard about them from you many times. Yes, your photo album. But I think Tegan became my favorite in that episode. The sass she brings reminds me a lot of Donna, which I loved, doing what she wants. And I have a new ship in the fandom, Ace and Graham. Yes, that's a future thing coming soon.
We can totally do a podcast.
You can't use hashtag Grace.
Grace.
No, that's terrible.
Yes. Ace
I think
is
I
great,
should Dan and Graham, but yeah.
Her and that bat. Loved it.
To pick up where we left off there, so no, for Keegan, so you've enjoyed seeing them too. Would you, before we move on to down the line, would you like to see them again?
Yes. I'd love to see more classic companions I've never met before.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see Jo again, Katie Manning, one of my favorites. I think the only classic companion I've seen ever.
Apart from Sarah, but obvious reasons.
But no, it was great to see some familiar faces, and hopefully RTD appreciates the classic series again, and
Yeah.
involves them more into his era.
Well, I mean, who knows? As the legend says, the leaks are going around that Mel might appear at some point, and we've heard about her name drop apparently for the 60th. So who knows if she's going to be in it or not?
Who knows?
Who knows? Yes, my dear. Would you like a jelly baby? Oh, sorry. No, it was Tom. That was Tom. And now, Raven, were you familiar with like Ace and Tegan, or was this your first experience? And what did you think of them?
More familiar with Ace and Tegan because like Seven is very much my Doctor. But I feel like I might get a bit of angry looks, but Five's like my least favorite. So like I've seen very little. So, but yeah, I knew about like the stuff to do with Adric and whatnot. So everything still made sense. But I was like, oh, that's Tegan. That's cool. But I kind of wish that we hadn't seen them in the trailer. Like so they could have shown up as a complete surprise. And then yeah, the stuff with Ace, it's a tricky one because like unlike the other classic Who companions, she doesn't have a definitive leave. There's like so many different ones. So even with her moment with Sylvester, they had to sort of talk around it of like, oh, he pushed her too far and like they left under bad terms, but it's not spelled out sort of thing. But I did quite like that. I do wish that they'd had more time with Jodie. Because even though I did like Ace sort of reconciling with like Sylvester's Doctor, I feel like it would have been more interesting to have her sort of reconcile with 13 as a Doctor who's very, very different to Sylvester, to give that different perspective. But yeah, it was nice seeing them again.
It was great to hear that.
I mean, I will say that Tegan is one of the most iconic classic Who companions. From like moaning about getting back to Heathrow Airport, to talking about Auntie Vanessa every name dropping conversation, to literally to this point of like, and yes, I would like to go into the TARDIS. Then Tegan is that Donna Noble because she's the OG Donna Noble. But before you, Joy, and before you, Andy, go, so what we're going to do is switch up for this part. So we were going to leave this until the end, but because you two got to go, we'll cover it for you two. We're going to look at, so we've covered a lot of disappointments. We covered what has been liked to the episode, but we're going to do a final thoughts about like what's going on. So the regeneration scene at the end with Tennant, which has been covered a bit here, but who here honestly was expecting that big announcement? It's a very... We know Connor's not very fond of this subject, but we'll get on to it anyway. We're going to do a quick fire round of what people actually liked about David Tennant showing up as the surprise at the end for part of the Doctor.
Which order are we going in?
Anyone. So because you two are going, Joy and Andy, we'll go with you two first about like what did you actually like about Tennant's arrival as the Doctor again?
So I am just a stereotypical Tennant fan. I couldn't be more excited. Like, I know not everyone feels that way, and that's fine. But I loved his Doctor. I loved that era. Jodie came close to some of her era came close at the beginning to making me love it more, but I feel like David's era still wins out a bit for me. And so I had wanted to see him back ever since sort of the extremely depressing ending he got, which had me depressed at the time when I watched it. Of course, I was binging it at an extremely rapid pace with no one else around to really share it with. So it was a really strange experience. So having him back and also having Donna back, spoilers, is huge. And I was nothing but excited, honestly. I mean, I'm pretty one-dimensional on this one. Really excited to have him back.
Yes, fantastic. Oh, fantastic, Joy. So, Andy, as well, your thoughts about that, about David as well?
Yeah, a bit of a rough, bit of a quick one from me. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm optimistic with it. To think that it was Stephen Moffat who basically wrote it in, saying you might be revisiting a few of your favourite faces. As Tom Baker saying that as the curator towards Matt Smith. It's amazing to think that something Stephen Moffat wrote almost 10 years ago has now come back really quite beautifully as well. It's just a shame, obviously, we couldn't have it for Patrick Troughton or John Pertwee. But ultimately, David Tennant, equally as loved as those two just mentioned. Yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm happy we've got him back in the TARDIS for another season, a season for this year. And then obviously, and I think as well, in general, it's going to be good as a bit of a transition because let's be quite blunt about it. We didn't necessarily have much of a transition from the Capaldi era into the Whittaker era. But I'd like to think with us having David Tennant in for these 3 specials as well, before we then go into Christmas with Ncuti, Gatwa, if anything, that should give us the transition I think many of us have been asking for an extremely long time because no disrespect here, but we had a transition with Stephen Moffat. We had it basically being Series 5. We didn't have any of that with Series 11 because obviously Chibnall wasn't a regular and, so to speak, under Moffat. So yeah, it's a weird one. So I loved it. One of my favourite regenerations. Not as good as obviously Capaldi's regeneration, being a biased Capaldi fan that I am. But ultimately, I'm happy. I'm optimistic for the future. So yeah, bring on Tennant and bring on RTD2. Thank you.
Right. And thank you so much, Andy. So we're going to open up the floor to everyone just to end off quickly. What did you like about the Fugitive Doctor's ending? Were you satisfied? And what are your hopes for the 60th before we do our outros?
She deserved more time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got a very conflicted opinion when it comes to the Fugitive Doctor. It's I'm going to talk about Power of the Doctor first. It wasn't really the Fugitive Doctor, was it? It was a hologram. So, as an ending to the Fugitive Doctor, it was a bit unsatisfying. Let's be honest. That the Fugitive Doctor wasn't even there. It was just a hologram. But yeah, it's the Fugitive Doctor. It's, you know what? I'm actually gonna. I want to hear someone else's opinion first because I've got quite a lot to say about the Fugitive Doctor. So,
I really like the Fugitive Doctor. I think she's a great incarnation. Joe Martin does a brilliant job. I do find it a bit unfair that we've technically only seen her in person as the Fugitive Doctor in Fugitive the Jadoon, and then also in Once Upon a Time. And in Timeless Children, she's like a memory sort of thing. Yeah. And also, like you said, Power of the Doctor, she's a hologram. So yeah, but I really like Joe Martin's Fugitive Doctor. I can't wait for the big finish thing to come out.
Oh yeah,
and I really hope she does appear at some point in other future episodes in RTD or eras beyond that.
Anyone else? His thoughts on the Fugitive Doctor? I'm saying this because I'm trying to find something. I'm like I made this Twitter thread about the Fugitive Doctor and my feelings. So I'm trying to find that.
Well, we can always.
One of the things I like about that episode is that it did show that just because a character has ended, they don't have to have ended. So I guess one thing I'm slightly hopeful is that we get to see her again. Because we're like, our question is sort of, what do we think of her end? I'm gonna hope that it wasn't her end. Do we? On that note, we don't have Matt to give us an impressive outro.
Matt just vanished
with his amazing voice.
Matt's just hopped out.
Yeah. It's been really fun.
This has been terrific. It's super fun.
Nothing.
Oh wait, it's Matt.
He's back. Oh my god.
He's returned.
Matt is
back?
regenerating.
I mean,
Oh no,
Matt.
that's his name.
Oh, here we go.
He regenerated into
Matt.
himself. Matt, you got to close this out with your impressive voice.
Yes, one day. Thank you for the discarded Whovians. And until next time, we will be back. Yes, we'll be back. Thank you so much for coming on to episode 1 of Power of the Doctor. It has been a pleasure. I have been Matt, your host. He was William Hartnell. Yes, he originally made say this has been Keegan, this is Raven, this is Joy, Mateo, Connor, Aidan, the evil Dalek, and thank you
I
so
have a
much
name.
to Andy for coming along.
No, you don't
And
evil
Andy-
Dalek. You're just evil Dalek. Accept it.
Come to terms with it.
So thank you so much, and until next time, thank you for joining episode 1 of Fantastic Look Back at Power of the Doctor, and we hope you'll be here for more episodes. Don't forget, we're watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Amazing.
Bye.
Bye.